It is time. It's time to dispel the myths, answer the questions about the unicorn, the mysterious, what is this buyer broker agreement? So if you've got questions and you're a buyer or you know someone that's a buyer in this crazy real estate market, stay tuned to this video. We're going to cover just the general topic of a buyer broker agreement if you're purchasing real estate. Buyer Schmeier, yeah, Shayla, paperwork, who cares? Well, if you're a seller selling real estate, you've always been accustomed to signing a listing agreement, right? If you're a buyer, a lot of buyers actually around the country have been also accustomed to it. This is just now having to become common practice. This is going to, apparently be enforced in July of 2024. I guess time will tell. But this is a business and we need to conduct ourselves as businessmen and women, right? And if we're going to sit down and list a property and have an agreement with a seller, like I said, makes sense to sit down and do the same with the buyer. And it behooves the buyer to hire someone, because I think it's also, not only is it just, that formality of an actual agreement so that you're protected and that the buyer knows what they're getting, it forces us, and it will force the agents here to have an actual consultation with our clients if we haven't already been doing it. It forces us to communicate better and explain what we really and truly do as realtors, because I think the myths out there are that agents just show up, open the door, and magically we get paid these big commissions, okay? And it couldn't be farther from the truth, especially if you're a full-time, full service agent like myself, who's been I really take the care and diligence with every single client. And so there's a tremendous amount of value in working with a buyer's agent. So I liken this to that whole quote going around in the business, like, would you hire the prosecutor if you're going into court as the defendant? I mean, so you can go to the seller. That's always been an option, right? As I mentioned in my last video, check it out, the NAR settlement, just like the breaking it down of, the settlement, and kind of what that means for the business and buyers and sellers. You can choose to go to the seller, and you can still do that. But 87 to 90% of people actually choose to and see a lot of value in working with a buyer's agent. So, but let me just give you a little bit of a caveat, because the consensus, now that we've had time to kind of settle into this news here, is that not a lot is going to actually change. And here's why I say that, before I dive into the actual buyer broker agreement. Here's why I say that, because we cannot put the commissions in the MLS, right? So that's like me going to work or you going to work, if you're a painter or a contractor or you're an electrician, whatever, and you go to a job not knowing anything about what you're going to get paid at all. To me, that's just a no. Who's going to go work for free? The potential of working for free? Nobody, unless you're a multimillionaire and you're just bored and want to work. I mean, that's probably not going to be most of us, okay? So we need to make sure that the buyers understand what they're getting, okay? And what we are willing to offer, and therefore what our services are, what our fees are, right? Therefore what our commissions are. So back to what I was saying. So the market's not going to change much. So and the reason I say that is because, okay, I'm sitting down with the seller and I say, seller, I have a buyer broker agreement with my buyer, and you're not willing to pay anything, let's say it's zero. You're now eliminating 87 to 90% of the market, because 87 to 90% of buyers in the buyer's pool marketplace at usually any given time is going to have representation by way of a buyer's agent, whether they're formally engaged or not. After July, they will need to be formally engaged or they might not get paid. So that's on you, agents, if you don't sit down and kind of talk with your buyers and educate. But now, we can't put the compensation in the MLS, but there's no stipulation about putting it on Facebook, put it on social media, put it on your website. Someone will probably create a widget or an app or whatever you want to call it, where there's a whole list of properties that are offering X percent, this fee, whatever. And buyers now, because it's not unethical, buyers can say, well, Shayla, let's go look at these properties, but like, let's stick with the ones that are offering you your full commission that we are engaged with on our buyer broker agreement. So now the buyer can pick and say, like, let's limit these, like take these other properties out, only show us the ones with the X percentage on your buyer broker agreement. Well, that's not good for the seller, right? So that's why we say that not a lot is going to change by the way that the services that we offer, the hard work and diligence we offer each and every client, whether you are a buyer or a seller, okay? But I will say there's definitely something to be said about formally engaging a full-time, okay, so agent who answers their phone, because recently I've dealt with some that are part-time, can't get a hold of the agent, only will text, driving from Tampa to Clearwater to Port Charlotte. I mean, they don't know the area. I mean, we get some wild situations with agents that are completely frustrating, and yet they want to get their full commission. So to me, it doesn't add up, right? You want to work with a full-time agent who answers their phone, who knows the market inside and out, who is available for you, or at least has a team that is available and appointed if they're out of town or whatever, okay? So to me, make sure you're comparing apples to apples when you hire a realtor. All right, getting into the guts of the actual buyer broker agreement, there's several versions of this. So as I live in Florida, so we have the Florida Association of Realtors document, and then we have our co-banker document. So I'm kind of still waffling on the one that I like better, and I've actually used both, but I really like the Florida Association of Realtors buyer broker agreement unchanged, because there's a lot of white space here. And to me, it's very buyer centric. And what I mean by that is it's focused more on the buyer here. And I really like that, because really we're here to service the buyer, right? We're here to help them make the best decision. After all, it's a big financial decision. It's a big commitment. You know, whether you're flipping a house or staying in it 30 years, right? It's still a big commitment. So understanding a buyer's wants and needs, there's space on here for that. It gives the type of property, the location, price range, are you pre-qualified or not, terms and conditions, and then it says like what my obligations are to you. I'll just name a few. Use broker's professional knowledge and skills, assist by, and listen, we all know that skills and knowledge are going to vary wildly. I would test your agent. Say, listen, hey, do you have another job? Okay, do you really want to work with someone that's only going to give you like 1/10 of their time? I literally, like I said, and I'm not going to name drop and make fun or whatever, because everybody's got their time and place in this business, but when you're out showing property and I'm bending backwards to go and make sure that the house is perfect, and I have either myself or a showing agent there, like I want to deal with a professional, a full-time pro that's going to get back to me, give me feedback, show up on time, and know the market, know where you're going in these neighborhoods, okay? So test your agent, ask them all these questions, like interview us. I want you to interview me. I want you to feel comfortable with your buyer's agent. I think it's really important. Assist buyer in determining buyer's financial capability and financing options. I mean, one of the things as agents is that we should be able to appoint you or refer you to a lot of different great vendors. I mean, lenders included. We should be able to give you a solid list of 3 lenders that you're free to choose. Same thing with the home inspectors. These are all things that can really cost you a lot of money in a transaction. And it's important that you work with an agent that has the contacts, you know, and has the connections that they can then very easily, trusting these people, put you in contact. I mean, after all, like when I give a referral, it's a reflection of me and my name and my reputation, which means everything to me. So when I give a referral, it should speak to the level of service that I provide as well. We're all a team in this. And I think that you should interview your agent about all of these things. And this is what's forcing the discussion. And I think it's important, and it's high time. I think maybe these are all the good things that happened out of this settlement, right? That maybe we haven't been educating the public enough about what we really truly do. I had a buyer consultation at my office recently, and by the time they left, the entire table was full of papers. They're probably like, okay, honey, I ain't gonna read all this, but if you could just explain it to me. Well, that's what you're hiring, okay? It's more than just opening up a door, right? It's consulting. You should be with someone that is really going to look after your best interest and give you the consultation, great advice that you need, point them in the right direction in the better neighborhoods. Like you've got to look after these people, especially when they're coming from out of town and they don't know the area and they have to buy. Okay, that is a lot of pressure for a buyer. And I mean, to just walk into a new city not knowing the neighborhoods, I mean, gosh, I think it's really critical that you hire a local pro. And I get off on these tangents because I'm very passionate, obviously, about what I do. um, you know, and just like fair housing and service providers, like we talked about in here. And there's a section on buyer's obligation. Yes, this is a two-way street. When you sign an agreement, you know, it is binding, okay, but don't be scared of it. There's actually a cancellation policy in the Florida agreement, which is another reason why I like it. Um, I've just made a practice of not using these, and maybe shame on me, I don't know, but I've just felt very strong about my value that I've provided to my clients and never felt the need to do it. Now it's sort of forced on us, and I think that's a very, very good thing. So I'm not bashing anyone who doesn't like it or whatever. It's just a little bit of growing pains and an adjustment for everybody. It's for the agents and for the marketplace. But buyer's obligations, yes, you have some obligations here. But the buyer agrees to cooperate with the broker in accomplishing the objectives of this agreement, including, and I'll just name a couple, conducting all negotiations and efforts to locate suitable property only through your broker, and referring to the broker all inquiries of any kind from real estate licensees, property owners, or any other source. So yes, the source of where the property comes from can be the internet, the buyer, the agent, social media. It can come from anywhere, but you're still engaged with the said realtor. Okay, let's say me. um, Here's another one: being available to meet the broker at reasonable times for consultations and to view properties. To me, that's an easy one. Most people want to look at a lot of properties. Some people know what they like in and out and only want to look at a few. So there's kind of everything in between. Some people might need a day to look and they buy, and some people need 5 years to buy. So we just don't know. And so these deadlines are totally flexible, you know, given the buyer's situation and kind of their circumstances. So this is a discussion. It's not set in stone. This is a reason to discuss their needs, how we're going to work together, how it's beneficial that you hire me. And let's be honest, like I said, most sellers, if they're smart, are still going to offer compensation, right? So that's the kind of the buzz around like the offices and talking to other colleagues of mine, that a seller would do a disservice for not offering 87 to 90% of the buyer pool that are represented by an agent. They're going to eliminate the possibility because maybe those buyers don't want to pay the extra 1% or extra 2% or whatever the percent, okay, is. That's their choice, and it's not an unethical choice, because remember, buyers don't have the same fiduciary duties that we as realtors or licensed agents have for our clients. So they can just say, no, just don't show me those. I just only want to show the ones that are X%. And that's their right. I think we might need to do part 2 of this because this video is getting long. But there is a lot of great content in this, and I really do like I said, the Florida Association of Realtors buyer broker agreement. I think it's very buyer centric, but it's mutually agreeable. I think it works well for the agent. I think it works well for the buyer. So you know, change is good, change is scary, change is necessary. I mean, some people might think we're going backwards with this. I don't know, but time will tell. And just know that I am not going anywhere. Okay, I'm here. I'm available. I communicate. I know this market. I know pricing very well. I can pivot very quickly for my clients and advise you as things change, advise you very rapidly on what we should do for marketing, positioning your property, pricing, open houses, other creative recommendations, whether you're a buyer or seller. Just know that I'm here. I've been through lots of markets. I'm happy to advise you. I look at myself as a consultant for my clients, and I'm happy and thank you for all the business over the years. I have some amazing clients, okay? Like, my clients are just some of the best people on earth, and like the loyalty is so priceless. Like, referrals, loyalty, repeat clients, priceless, you guys. I'm going to do a part 2 of the buyer broker agreement because there's a whole section of terms as well. So I feel like maybe this will be 2 parts or 3 parts. I'm not sure. I guess like because I get too talkative here. But like, by the way, look at where I live. I mean, I don't live here, okay, but like, sun's out and live in paradise here. Really can't complain about anything, and happy to have the work and happy to have this platform to talk about all these great changes. I think it's going to be fine overall. I really do. And I think, again, it's just going to make me step up to the plate more and educate the public more, educate my clients a lot more, make sure they know exactly what's going on, all these great changes in the field itself and the markets. So again, I want nothing more than to hear from you. Please call me or text or email, whichever's better for you. My cell is 941-544-7690, and my email is my name, ShaylaTwitt@gmail.com.